Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Healthy Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Maxine Choy, and I am so excited about tonight and the topic we're going to talk about. My guest, I'm excited to have you, Monique. And
Hi.
so, I'm your host, Maxine Choy, and I'm a health and nutrition coach, and I work with women to help them achieve attainable health and fitness goals. If you need to get in touch with me for a one on one, I am open to talking to you. And this show is brought to you by the Healthy Entrepreneur, brought to you by Business Takeout. Oh my goodness, what's wrong with me today? Business Takeout is a social platform that recognizes Black wealth through business education. So we're going to be talking about a subject on sexual health. My guest Monique is a sexual health educator, and we're going to be talking about the big elephant in the room and other things in the process. So Monique, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. That's excited about tonight.
Me too. Me too. Okay, so Monique, we're going to start with the foundation or the company that you're involved with, and then we'll dive into what this topic is about. It's about sexual health, we know, and having that conversation with a potential partner or even a current partner, even your kids, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah, exactly. So, tell us about what you do. I know you're with an organization called BrAIDS for AIDS. So, can you tell us about that, please?
Yes, I would love to. BrAIDS for AIDS is an organization that's been founded for about 11 years. And this organization was founded by Station Frederick, who is, she's an entrepreneur, uh, award winning in Toronto for the top 100 women. She's done such wonderful things in um, within starting nonprofits and such. But the organization really is about educating African, Caribbean, and Black women on HIV and and all the information around it. So sexual health, how to get tested, where to get tested, as well as we do all that while incorporating hair. So, if any workshop we ever put on, it would be in a hair salon. With COVID, we've moved to Zoom, but we have hairdressers in our projects. And what we try to do is equip our hairdressers with enough information when conversations come up with their clients that they can kind of give a little bit of an understanding because they're obviously not, they're hairdressers, not psychologists or sexual educators, right? So it's that we know that our hair is our beauty. When we go there, we spill out everything. We just want to equip them. So that's pretty much a vague answer to that question, but
Okay.
definitely find all our programs on our website as well as follow us on Instagram.
That's pretty interesting. So, you say that everything has to do with hair. So, are you talking about you're braiding the hair while you're educating them, or are you donating hair, or is it what is it about?
So when we're in the hair salons, the current workshop that we have going on is in a hair salon. The hairdresser will either be doing the person's hair, and we facilitate like an open circle, woman circle, almost that barbershop boy talk vibe. Only it's just women speaking. But another program that we do as well is with youth. So we'll have conversations about consent, body image, and such, and we'll be teaching them how to braid with a mannequin.
Interesting. So, I get it that it's you're educating people or men and women, boys and girls, I suppose, about sexual health, and in the process, there is braiding or some type of hair fixture or whatever that you do to incorporate that. So it's almost like a bond, it seems, right?
Yeah, it's actually a dual part in the sense of we're teaching you health for about yourself, and then
Yeah,
also the strength of knowing how to do hair because we understand, especially in the Black community,
yeah,
that your hair can bring an income in, especially with COVID.
absolutely.
Know how to
Well,
braid, you might be able to bring an income.
absolutely, and I hope that we'll have the link to this Braids for AIDS at some point in the show, so people can actually go on that site to look for more. But I thought it was a good idea. I've heard of it before,
Okay.
and it definitely is a good incentive, even for anybody who just needs some support in that area of sexual health. So, on the topic of sexual health,
All right.
you and I were having a conversation that I find I dubbed it the elephant in the room. And I think it has a lot to do with today's, uh, the way today is, the way people are either talking about it or not. And we're talking about sexual health. And I'm going to ask you some specific questions and then we can get right into it. So we're talking about a boy and a girl meet, right? And they're in the dating process, and things are coming along. They find that they're having some physical. It's taken, the relationship is moving to the next level.
Okay.
How do you have that conversation with that potential partner about their sexual, maybe their past, or even their sexual health? What's happening, and are people ignoring this?
I mean, it's pretty much an easy conversation. It's just an awkward conversation. So it's pretty much like, I think it really should start off with, if we are going down that road, like, do you know your status? Should, maybe since we want to go down this path, maybe we should go get tested. I mean, I've heard people before COVID, they did it as a whole date night, walked into a clinic and got themselves tested. I've also heard of situations where people would bring up YouTube links and be like, "Hey, babe, I got a video to watch. What do you think about this?" And then start the conversation from there. But it is definitely a scary topic to bring up because it's easier to not know than to know. So just bring it up. And more times than not, it's usually the female that brings it up. But I've had situations where men do, are first to put that out there.
Right. Monique, something happened. I'm not sure you're aware, but your Wi-Fi had cut out a little bit. So I missed a huge chunk of what you were saying. I don't know if the audience has. If anybody could just comment below if they heard your entire conversation. I just got the gist of it. But we're going to continue, and hopefully this doesn't continue to happen. So I'm
okay, not a problem. I'm here. I can hear you.
Great. So what I'm getting is that it is a conversation that is should be easy to speak about, and it's a matter of just asking, right? Asking the question about either let's go get tested together kind of thing. Is that what we're going with, or
you can get tested together, or just get tested on your own and just bring the results. I mean, safety first. That's how I see it.
Exactly. Safety first. Exactly. I mean, because I think that when AIDS came around, right? Everybody was like, "Oh no, no unprotected sex." Obviously, that was one. And then the kissing part was like iffy because nobody really knew if it was going to be transmitted through saliva. And then, of course, you didn't want to touch anybody without a glove, and that went on for a number of years. But over the years, there's been it hasn't been so much of a topic or a conversation. It's like, okay, you're straight, I'm straight, let's go, let's go, right? And and somebody could look perfectly healthy, right? But they could be having a STD. They could have an STD that you may not want, right? So
that's correct. There are 4 STDs that are uncurable.
Which are?
HPV, hepatitis, HIV, and herpes. All 4 of those are typically very scary to have. So some people even have them without even knowing that they have them. So it's important to have that conversation.
Right. Okay. So you're suddenly single and you're exploring the dating world, and you decide to go on this dating app, and hook up. You know what? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm wondering if people are concerned about that. Like, are they practicing safe sex? Are they making sure that their partner, the potential partner, is safe?
This hookup culture, it's quite scary. It's almost scarier than COVID, to be honest, because
it's scarier than COVID. Oh,
wow. Because people don't know you, right?
Yes.
And they're okay with exchanging that moment, that feeling. We don't know you, and people that have STDs look like normal people, as we said before. People with who are living with HIV, if they're taking their medications, they're healthy. They look like regular people. The other part about that is people with HIV, if they're taking it, they are undetectable correctly. If they take their medication correctly, they are undetectable. So which means they will not be able to transmit it onto their partner. But again, that's if they are taking it as prescribed. So that could mean, 3 times a day, 1 time a day, whatever the case may be. If they miss it, it can change things. So they could be good all last week, but this week something happened. You never really know. So, and then other STIs, some of them, for herpes, for example, is actually commonly passed through skin to skin contact. So wearing a condom, not wearing one, it doesn't matter. The other naive thing is that people think that, or act as if you can wear a condom for penetration, but most people don't practice wearing a condom for oral sex or use a dental dam for, again, for oral sex. So you're still opening yourself to catching something because STIs are passed through body fluids, not saliva, but body fluids.
So you're saying that, okay, I want to go back to the AIDS or somebody with HIV, let's say. You're saying that a perfectly normal looking person or healthy looking person who has HIV or looks healthy, taking their medication on a regular basis is crucial, because if they don't, they could pass it on to another person. I didn't know that. That's pretty interesting. So
it's actually one of the biggest campaigns that HIV awareness groups talk about is U equals U, undetectable equals untransmittable. So if their viral counts are low enough, they're taking their medication, they have less of a chance to pass it on to their partner. And I think that's what's keeping the community, healthy, and educations and things are growing that way, because the antiviral pills are able to do that.
Interesting. So, so HIV is not transmittable if you're taking your medication. Wow. Right. So I thought once you have it in your blood, then it's just, you can pass it on to somebody else by...
No, and another way that we don't usually talk about is mother to child, right?
Yes.
So mother to child can either be through childbirth or through breastfeeding. So if the mother is on their medication, they could, I think now we're able to say that they are able to breastfeed, but typically they say, or in the past they've said not to, and but be on the medication, so when you have birthing of the child, it doesn't get passed on.
So this hookup culture now, you're saying it's scarier than COVID, obviously, because you don't know the person.
Right. And the reason why I said it's scarier is because people really, they will do it without knowing anything about you, right? At least if you're wearing a mask, you can feel like you've done something, like protected yourself. You kind of keep 6 feet distance, you feel like you've done it. But this culture has become very like, with all these online things, it's just, hey, are you free? Can I come by? Sure. And before you know it, things got hot and steamy, and now you're gone. And then tomorrow you'll text and say, hey, how you doing? And you've been ghosted. So this seems to be the culture. And now if a person does that 3 times a week, times 4 for a month, that's 12 different people that you've slept with for the month. And there's no trace to where or what, or could have had, whatever the case.
So what do you say that a woman says to a guy or a guy says to a girl, if they're getting into a relationship? How does the question come up?
About status?
Yes.
So if they're positive, or if they're just trying to hook up, what is it?
Just trying to say, just saying, listen, you know what? I want to make sure that we're good, type of thing. And, what is your sexual health? Like, what's the status of it? Just like that? Just like that.
I mean, it is an awkward conversation, right? Again, if you're meeting someone, a lot of conversations are like with time, when there's a vibe, it happens. But if your intentions are just to do this hookup thing, walk with it then. Walk with the paperwork, because you can print it out and walk with it if that makes you feel better. Make sure that it's up to date, and maybe people will feel cool about it. I don't know.
Okay.
With this paperwork. But however, with HIV, it does take you, it takes anywhere from 18 to 45 to 90 days to know if you even received it, to get enough in your system to know if you are positive. So yeah, it's hard to tell with that.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that if you have not been promiscuous and you have been just with one partner, you can assume that you're okay. But if your partner has been elsewhere, then if you contract it, then how do you how would you ever know? So you're basically, you have to constantly get a test unless you are not sleeping with anyone.
Right. The only way of not being able to get anything is abstinence. So
Yeah.
getting tested. God bless, we live in Canada. For some of us who are watching, live in Canada, that we can get tested for free. So
yeah. I feel like I'm having this conversation from way back in the 80s, when I think it was the 80s. Is that when it came out?
I was very young at that time, or didn't exist at that time, but I can understand, because I do remember hearing that during a certain, like at the 80s or so, that it was a very heavy epidemic of HIV culture, right? So it is. And it's, again, I think because it became undetectable with the research, that it's become a very quiet conversation, right? It's something that we're no longer having. Sex in the Black community is taboo, right? We know that people are having sex because we know that we're always at baby showers. We get the Zoom link, whatever the case may be. We are having sex. However, are we being protected? Are we doing, our due diligence to not get anything? And yes, could be a very rare situation where you'll buck up to a person that has HIV. I know most people are probably negative, but there are positive people out there, positive people that are not disclosing, positive people that don't want to take their medication. So we have to just protect ourselves. It's not selfish to do that at all, to protect yourself, because one night can change your life. But a lot of those stories we hear are, it took me one time and now I'm HIV positive, so better be safe than sorry. And you know what? Don't feel bad if you don't ask the status. Don't feel bad if, you don't wear a condom, but try harder or not than not to do so. I always suggest women to carry their own condoms as well, because don't ever get yourself in a situation where it's not present. Put it in your purse. BrAIDS for AIDS giveaway, right? Exactly. BrAIDS for AIDS gives little baggies that you can use them, and hide them in there so people are not really seeing it. So, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, that was a question I was going to ask you, actually. Are women actually doing that, taking the initiative and saying, you know what, I'm going to bring my own condoms, just in case, so that you're prepared?
I don't know if they are, but let me say this. I think we've come to a time in our lives as women that we are open and excited about our sexuality, right? So the labels of being a whore or a slut, people are like, I'm just trying to have sex, right? So those people are not, being conformed or allowing those labels to affect them, but you should bring your own in that case, just so you're protected, because you can't, again, protect yourself, so that, something doesn't happen to you and you can just be safe.
Would you say that you should just randomly just test yourself for anything at all, or should you wait until you're seeing symptoms or anything like that? Like, what do you think about that? Just for your own benefit, not because you're concerned about passing on to anybody else. Just say, you know what, let me test for chlamydia. Let me test for, I don't know what else is there, other STDs. But like,
there's about 12.
12 of them. Oh, wow.
Well, yeah. Some more common than others. Well, if you are sexually active and have multiple partners, during a certain time span, you should just go get tested. If not, test once or twice a year. It's comfortable. It's even harder though to get tested when you're in a relationship. All right. So you're past it's harder in the sense of like the fear of, okay, if I do get tested, what if I find something that I don't want to find out? You know what I mean? So that's another scary part of being in relationships. It's like, most relationships probably will crash if a woman gets tested and she finds out she has something, right? So it's easy to say in a new relationship to have that conversation. I know it's definitely harder to say when you're in a committed relationship or a marriage. I've heard of stories where women who have died of HIV because they knew their partner was out there doing stuff, but they're the wife. He's coming home to his wife. And what do you say to your husband? Wear a condom, right? And so it's almost like she sacrificed herself for this marriage or relationship. But with so many other things about that, there's abuse, verbal, financial, all of that type of stuff. Sometimes women just have to do what they have to do to survive.
But even when you say if the husband was out there and he contracted and gave it to you, wouldn't it be the same as if the husband was to take the responsibility and just go get tested anyway? Because you said that when you're in a relationship, it's a little bit harder to go and get tested because you're in a relationship, and if you find out, it could ruin the relationship. But isn't that a matter of respect though? Because you're saying, you know what, I know maybe I've been stepped out a little bit on the marriage. Let's just say, let me just go get tested. And I think that husband or whoever transmitted that to the other partner should have taken the responsibility and got tested, right? So at least the person knows. But
so, Jen, let me apologize to you now. I wasn't trying to target you all, so please forgive me. But it should be. It should be the due diligence of that man to get himself tested if he is have a whole different lifestyle out of the relationship. But the question is, do they do that, right? And if you're worried about going to your family doctor, you can go to any walk-in clinic. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter where you go to, get it done. There's free clinics that you can go to. You can go to get anonymous testing. There's even organizations that are doing like free or buy, actually legally now in Canada, you can get a take-home test. So
okay.
There's a lot more details to that. I can share that at a later time. But yeah, just protect yourself. The worst thing could be done is bringing home an STD to a wife or a husband. That's devastating because it's just the trust factor is completely gone, right? So
yeah. So the important thing is, like, if you are not sleeping with, if you're sleeping with multiple partners, the responsible thing really is to get tested, because you could be potentially hurting somebody who you love or who doesn't deserve that, right?
Right. And STIs sometimes don't have any symptoms. So you could be carrying and not even know that you are carrying. I was on another podcast the other day, and someone even said that they tried it with a person, and the person said they were good, but instead they did go get tested, and she found out that she had something again. Because if you've had it for a while, you've adapted to whatever that is, and it's a normal thing. And then next, you're like, oh, okay. And some STIs that are curable over time, if you don't get them done, they are uncurable and cause a lot of severe damage. So you're better off trying to figure it out before it gets too far gone. I think it's syphilis that can lead to dementia. Like, it will go to your brain and lead to dementia. I may not be correct on that, but I think I've heard that before.
Right. I think what I know about syphilis is that you're going to know if you have that. It's not even, I think there's adverse side effects or effects of it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. So, so would you say that society turns a blind eye and just think it won't happen to me? Like it won't happen to me.
I guess it's the
You
same
know,
culture and the same vibe we have with COVID, right? It's like,
yes, yes,
it ain't gonna
exactly.
happen to me. And then,
It ain't gonna
there's a
happen.
lot of similarities with between COVID and STIs, asymptomatic
Okay,
people who are transmitting without knowing what they are, um,
right.
wearing a condom but still being able to get it. Um, yeah, there's a lot of similarities. And I think COVID, if anything, has shaken us a little bit to be a little bit more aware, and hopefully we can implement that to all parts of our lives and not just wearing the mask, but wear the condom too. I mean, they've even said in medical commercials or whatever, wear a mask and put on a condom, like protection both ways.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so what about oral sex? You
Wonderful.
said something about a like a
Dental dam.
yeah, what is that?
Dental dam is pretty much a sheet of like a latex barrier. So very similar to a condom, only it looks like a piece of paper. It's actually very elasticity, and you stretch it over and you do what you need to do. You can do that on the vaginal or the anal. So you just put it over, and I've never used one, but they say it's supposed to feel pretty much similar
So
to
to the real thing. So
real thing.
you said you use it on the vaginal and the anal.
Yes. You're
So
supposed to wear condoms if you're doing oral sex. That's why they have flavored condoms. So, and another thing is you shouldn't have sex with flavored condoms. There's with the flavor on it, it does change the I guess the effectiveness to it. So, because it's just thinner because of the flavoring on it.
okay. So the oral sex, from what you're explaining to me, is that this sheet of paper or whatever that is goes over the woman.
Hmm. Or the bum, which could be a male or a woman. Yeah.
Okay. So what about oral sex on the other end, where a woman is performing oral sex on the man? How is that? What does that come in?
I mean, you could use it, but I guess it's easier just to put a condom on. Like it's not literally. I have a quickly. It's like a piece of paper. You put it on and you lick it. It's it's not very convenient, nor is it nice. Like just imagine. Hold on, let me get that sheet. You know, it's not the cutest thing to do, but it's the healthiest thing to do, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you might as well just get saran wrap. I don't know. It just seems so
There,
weird.
you know what? There is a joke in that.
Oh,
Saran.
really?
There is a joke. If you don't have one, use saran wrap. But I don't know. Saran wrap doesn't have any real barriers to what it is, right? So.
Okay, so this has barriers. Okay, this is very interesting because, when you're single, you're suddenly single, and you're
Hmm.
going on these dating sites and you're meeting people, and obviously, I'm assuming everybody would exercise safe sex, right?
Hmm.
But they're not. And I mean, I think the biggest thing is that if you keep going at the rate you're going, it's like playing Russian roulette. You just never know when something, could happen. I think that's where I feel as if like you always have to ask that question every time you meet somebody, if that's your intention. And that sounds like an interview. You might as well create a sheet and just kind of like check, 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 right?
Yeah, you mine as well. Listen. The good part about that is it might scare off the wrong person that's just coming to try to take advantage of you, right?
Yes.
The
Scare
real
off the wrong
person,
person. Okay.
right? Um, if you have that conversation with someone who's really like into you, wants to get to know you, or even trying to practice safe sex, it should lead to so many other conversations, right? It's just the part of getting to know each other and dating. With the fact that the other like crazy situation with that is that, you know, a lot of older women who are newly divorced are going to these apps, right? And for some of them, it's like, okay, well, I don't have to worry about getting pregnant. So, you know, we can just not wear a condom or wear a condom, or I know my status, you know your status. But again, it's a sticky situation. There's stats that say older women who have been, you know, in relationships with younger men and just having fun, but our HIV stats have said that that's usually where not usually, but in this stat was like where transmission was happening, where younger men, older women, and you know, there was a part of a study in 2017 where they can kind of look at them and say, oh, this might be an interesting tie to what's been happening in senior citizens homes. Yeah, some STIs, chlamydia, gonorrhea has gone up. You know, everybody's just having fun and sharing partners, and yeah, imagine your grandma at home.
It continues beyond the home, the senior years, right?
Right. They want to have sex too. Right. Yeah. They ain't getting their food done.
That's very interesting. With it's that whole Stella got her groove back, and if an older woman, younger man, that's probably where it can come from as well. So that's interesting to take to keep in mind, because these things happen. Interesting. Okay. So I mean, when I heard about what you do and you talked about the importance of sexual health, I thought it was a great topic for us to talk about, because of the fact that we've pushed the AIDS and the popular STDs, like there's, you know, gonorrhea, VD, is it the same? I don't even know. I'm so ashamed to say that. But so it's been kind of pushed aside, and it's like not really talked about because, you know, they're safe or they look good, they look healthy. So I wanted to just see where, you know, what's happening in this trend, and what's happening now with people hooking up, and how like, can we say, listen, before we do anything, I need to find out your status. And I think it's fair to do, right? It's a fair request.
Of course, I think it's a fair request. And as you said in the beginning, talk to your children about sex, because I'm sure that in some situations, your children might even be able to teach you something too, right? Because now that our kids are learning from computers every day, things are easily a Google, right? A Google search, YouTube, an easy slip, and they're now at a different page than they were supposed to be at, right? Mm-hmm. So have conversations with your kids ahead of time. Talk about consent, because even as adults, consent is something that we don't talk about. So yeah, we talk about wearing condoms or being safe, but consent, what does it mean if a person says no, or they say yes and then they say no, right? At what point, what are you listening to? Do we know that if a person's under the influence of drugs and alcohol, there is no consent, right? Especially with this Me Too movement that's happened for the last couple of years, we all need to be very careful with how we are interacting with people, even in the hookup culture, right? Because it's as easy as to say, together at that time, I consented, but if I go home tomorrow and was like, oh my God, I feel like I was violated, a person's whole life can be changed in that moment just because drugs or alcohol was there, or you didn't hear
pressure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Interesting. So this hookup culture and dating, I'm hearing about these hotel hookups, right? So
it's the safe way during COVID.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go. They can't go to a restaurant or a bar, or so you just hook up at a hotel, and then what?
So hook up at a hotel before COVID sounded like, okay, you want to get into my underwear, right? But another way of thinking about it is safety of this person coming to your house, you're going to their house. It's a safe place where you guys can meet and just have a conversation, because as we know, we're in a lockdown. Everything is lockdown. You can't even sit in Tim Hortons, right? Or
Right.
the other option is get a coffee, both of y'all parallel park your car and have that type of date as well. But this hotel hookup, again, because of old stigmas, it sounds like the person wants to get into your underwear. And if that's what you want to do, then you can go ahead and do it. There's nothing wrong with that as well. Just protect yourself. Come with your condom and your paperwork in hand.
I think it's because in a hotel room, the biggest piece of furniture is a bed.
Right.
There's no sofa. Well, they might if it's a suite, obviously, but the bed is there, and you're adults. And if there's alcohol, then there's a potential that things will happen, right? So
Right.
I mean, and I think these days, if this is something that women are agreeing, couples are agreeing to do, or partners are agreeing to do,
Right.
more than likely that's going to happen faster than you think, and there's going to be no time for no paperwork. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel that.
Agreed. Agree. There is no time, because in that moment you're just going with what the vibe and the energy is. But what I would suggest is after that moment, go get tested as
Right.
well. Just say, hey, things moved a little quicker. Let's go get tested, because at least if the partner has something that's curable, you guys can just get your prescription and get going, and getting that taken care of. But again, dating in 2021 is just different, right? It's
How is
just
it different?
swiping left, swiping right, hotel rooms, park, walking. I mean, the only thing we're allowed to do is go outside. So like date night is a walk at the beach, right? Date night is going down to the bluffs and just hopefully getting to know each other with 6 feet in between and a mask, The other crazy part of this online dating culture is being catfish, right? You need to have, if you can't physically be near to each other, make sure you video date, be creative, things like that, so you can make sure you see the person that you are with, because people are kind of sketchy out here.
So ghosting, as in you don't look the same way you look online.
Catfishing means you don't look the same, or you use someone else's profile. So I could take your picture and start talking as people like, hey, my name is Maxine. And then when we meet up, I'm a dark-skinned person with dreads, right? So 2 different people. Listen, as much
That's
as
crazy.
it's happened to me. So that's why I could talk about it. It literally was night and day. Day.
Really?
Night and day.
I don't understand how that is even possible, because when you obviously are representing yourself, how do you expect this to become a relationship? The trust is gone right there.
Gone.
Yeah.
But people are doing it.
Interesting.
Even if it's a short period of time or a long period of time, they're doing it. And you just gotta just protecting yourself the same way that's like even on these dating websites, they'll tell you like, don't give your credit card information, things like that. It's the same thing. We have to learn how to protect ourselves. We are very selfish beings in general. So I don't see why we can't add that same thing into our health.
Interesting.
It's a conversation. Awkward, but
conversation.
We can have.
Exactly. Well, Monique, thank you so much for this insight on our sexual past or status, I should say. I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank the audience for watching as well. And if there's any way that we can tell the audience how to reach you for anything at all, we have your Instagram.
Yeah, you can follow me at on Instagram at MRH for Life, and Facebook at Monique Hughes, as well as EV Cosmetics is a cosmetic line that I have for women of color. The website is currently down, but you can always find me. Like tonight, this is all EV Cosmetics. So
nice. Good to know.
Definitely hit me up for that. And if just you want to have a conversation, something that you're not sure of and you want more information, feel free, men and women. There's nothing wrong with having that conversation. I'm not scary at all. So hit me up.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with having that conversation. I think it's very important that we're comfortable with asking somebody about their sexual status, because you're looking after yourself, and it's a part of self-love and self-care, because the last thing you want is to be dealing with anything in the genital areas that is uncomfortable. I've often said to people, a happy vagina is a happy woman. Same with same with a man, right?
Right.
And it seems as if most of the STIs concern the genital areas, and then of
Right.
course the body and the immune system, right? So I think that this is a conversation that should be had in every relationship. That's just what I'm thinking right now as I'm talking to you. But yeah, very interesting. I hope one of the audience members can get some value from this. I do want to thank you again, and thank you to the audience who've been watching. Uh, and thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a good night. Stay well.
Good night. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.